Good afternoon, Miss Flagg. How are you today?
Just fine, and you?
I'm doing well. So it is a pleasure and an honor to finally meet you. We've been talking on the phone for a while. And I just wanted to know, maybe I guess I'll start off with when you were nominated as the person that the library will be named after. How did you feel that day? What was your day like that day when you found out?
It was one of the most joyous days of my life. The mayor of the town of Edwards called me on the telephone and told me that I had been nominated among several other people that were nominated by their friends and relatives. And after he talked with me, the mayor of the town, his name was Mr. Holt, Holt, Mr. Holt. And he chose me the mayor of the town after hearing my history.
Okay. So that was, do you remember the year that you were nominated?
It was 2002, February 15th.
So, were you born and raised in Edwards?
No, I was born in 1923, October 29, 1923, in Learned, Mississippi. That post office now is closed, and it is named Edwards now. But when I was born, it was named Learned, Learned, Learned.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
So you're a native to this area. It wasn't called Edwards when you were born, but you're still native to this area.
Learned?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a neighbor, but they don't have post office.
Yes, ma'am.
The post office is either Raymond, if it's on the north side, if it's on the south side, it's Utica. If it's on the east side, it may be Jackson, west side, Pittsburgh. It depends on where the town is located in the different counties. So Learned is still in Hinds County, but the post office is not working. They use it, as I said, it depends upon where in Hinds County.
So you're from Learned, Mississippi.
Well, it's pronounced Learned.
Learned? Okay. What prompted you to want to become an educator?
My mother, my biological mother, I had two mothers. One was a stepmother and one was my biological mother. My biological mother was named Clara Carpenter Flagg, which is the surname for me, Flagg. That's my surname. She was a star student at a junior college in Jackson called Campbell College. It was located across the street from Jackson State University. It is no longer an institution now. But my biological mother, Clara, was a star student at the school. And when she graduated, she became a teacher and a star teacher. At that time, she wasn't married to my father. She was single. And she, as I said, was a star student at Campbell College. And when she graduated, she became a star teacher. And everywhere she went, she made a good name for herself. And that's what made me want to be a star teacher. I always heard people say, your mother was a very smart woman, and her name was always out front when things were happening. And I became interested in teaching because as I grew up, I would hear what a wonderful teacher my mother was. So I said, when I grow up, I want to be a star teacher. So that's why my mother was such a good teacher.
Awesome. So, where did you go to school for your formal education to become a teacher?
I went to Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama. I went to Rust College in Holly Springs, Mississippi. And I went to a school here in Edwards. It was a junior college. It's about 1.5 miles here from here, going toward Vicksburg. It is Southern Christian Institute. That's what SCI means, Southern Christian Institute. It no longer exists. It closed in 1953. And my classmate was Mr. Dozier's. I'm C. Dellers. That's your mother.
Yeah.
His mother and I graduated from the Southern Christian Institute.
Okay.
We were classmates.
Awesome. So, do you remember when you began your tenure as a teacher at the School of Edwards?
Oh yeah, I started teaching in 1947.
47, wow.
And I taught there until 1974. I took a job at Toulouse College in the student affairs counseling center in 1976. And I worked at Toulouse for 22 years.
Wow.
I retired from Toulouse College in December of 1997. I retired.
And you retired completely from education and teaching?
But I retired from working in the student affairs
Okay.
for the college. I've been living here ever since 1936. To this day. I don't know how many years that is. But coming up, we had a little bit of slavery still around. Big families lived on plantations, and our life was controlled by white people. We lived on plantations. The name still exists, but everybody has passed away. We lived on a plantation called the J.W. Nolan Plantation. We had to furnish our own mules and horses. We could only live on the land, and everything that we raised that they sold, we only got half of it. And there was a settlement every November. Well, if so much corn had been sold, so much cotton had been sold, that you would get a total. My father would get a total, but he would have to give half of it to the plantation owner. He would only get half. And that wasn't only for us, it was everybody who lived on the plantation. But to have extra money for the family, he cut timber. He bought timber from people who wanted to sell some trees. And he was a logger. And we had extra money because my father sold logs. And he would hire people to work our cotton and corn field, where the corn and cotton would be sold, and only we would get half of the money in November. And the J.W. Newman, owner of the plantation, would get the other half. So coming up was really hard. We could have our own cows, we could have our own hogs, we could have our own cornfield, we could have our own cotton field, but we would have to give up the money that we had raised off that, half of it to the plantation owner, and we keep the other half in November. Every November, there had to be a settlement. And then when the Depression came through here, we could only buy exactly what the amount of whatever you wanted. You could only get a portion. If you wanted a coffee, for instance, they sold coffee in bags and cans, and if you wanted coffee, no matter how many bags you wanted or cans you wanted, you could only get one. That's during the Depression. You couldn't go and buy 2 or 3 to take home.
So like a ration.
Yeah, ration. And you had to have a book with coupons in it. And you could only buy what your coupons amounted to.
Okay. Were you ever provided an opportunity to meet any notable literary authors who once lived in Jackson, Mississippi, like you doing Will T. or Marvin Lawrence?
I have that right here. I have another one, but who was my student, but I didn't find it. Now here is what's the title?
Coming of Age in Mississippi by Anne Moody.
Anne Moody. Have you read that?
I've not read this, but I plan to put this on my reading list.
Yeah, she was a student at Tupelo from South Mississippi. She was in the civil rights struggle with Martin King, and where they put the dogs on and they wouldn't let the dogs bite. They would scare the students who were participating with Martin Luther King with the dogs. They would let the dogs go out on the leashes. They're enough to scare. During the struggle for civil rights, Dr. Martin Luther King staged many marches in Jackson. And he came to Edwards, to SCI that we talked about a few minutes ago, Southern Christian Institute. And he set up a program at SCI called Delta Ministry. And many people in Edwards were employed. And he when he staged a march in Jackson, he went to Tupelo because Tupelo was the only place he could go where he was invited. He lodged at Tupelo. And many of their meetings were held there. The students of Tupelo College participated and Jackson State. They really played a great part in civil rights movement. Benny Thompson, Congressman Benny Thompson, was one of the students who really stepped out and helped Dr. Martin Luther King.
Did you have an opportunity to participate in anything related to civil rights? Like, were you involved in any way?
No, I was only enrolled in NAACP chapter.
Okay.
I joined the NAACP chapter. But I didn't participate in any marches.
Okay.
Dr. Martin Luther King came to the school, our Edmond Junior High School, so that the children could see him. There was a lady who was once the mayor of Edwards. Her name was Mrs. Narissa Gray Smith, and she wasn't afraid. She came to the school and told the principal, Mr. Charlie Henderson, at that time was the principal. She said, Mr. Henderson, Dr. Martin Luther King is going to be here tomorrow down to Southern Christian Institute as SCI. And she said, I want the children to see him. He's going to be down to SCI. He's going to a meeting that morning. That when he's through with the meeting, I have already asked him would he mind going by the school and just to let the children see him. And he said, yes. He said, we won't have time to let them all go to the auditorium, the gym. He said, okay, here's what we can do. And we want the first grade to the 9th grade to see him. If he can't do anything but wave his hand at the children, we want them to say, Dr. Martin Luther King visited our school. And the principal gave her permission. And she went to SCI and told Dr. King, said the principal, Mr. Charlie Henderson, said it's all right to come to the school. So we don't have time to organize it. Said, but what he'll do, he'll come in his vehicle and he'll get out and walk the sidewalk, the length of the school, and wave to the children. He won't have time to talk. So after he finished his meeting at SCI, he drove to the school and let the principal know he was there. And he got out of his vehicle and he walked the length of the sidewalk and waved to the whole length of the sidewalk. Okay. And waved to the children. Somebody might have some pictures somewhere. I don't have one.
Okay. And that's Miss Marvel Walker. Okay.
Jubilee.
Yes, ma'am.
She is the grandchild of a slave. Of a slave man. Her mother was a slave.
And she's from Alabama, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I met her in person. I went to her funeral. And the funeral was here at the Methodist Church in Jackson called Central United Methodist Church. I went to home. They presented this in a formal house. So I went to put the presentation of this.
Of Jubilee?
We had some students in the opera.
Wow.
This turned into an opera.
That's amazing.
But I believe I did.
A recent.
Jubilee. This is a fellowship.
And it was
Top shelf. Look for it.
Yes, ma'am. If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say, Miss Flagg?
If I could go back, become educated, and you will know the know-how to do things. If you educate yourself, you can answer every question that you ask. Get an education. Become educated. I don't need to enlarge upon it. I just say get an education.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Well,
and you'll know the truth of things.
we have Miss Patricia Moss, Mrs. Patricia Moss. She was once the branch librarian at the Edwards Library, and she played a vital role in getting Miss Flagg nominated for the Edwards Library. So could you talk a little bit about that, Miss Moss, and tell me how that came about?
Well, they had a board meeting, and Miss Flagg's name was submitted to the meeting, and they asked me about it, and the board and everybody agreed on it. The problem was when they told me about it, I couldn't tell Miss Flagg, and that was the worst thing to do, not to tell Miss Flagg they was naming this library after her.
Yes, ma'am.
So when it all came down, we did the program and everything. Some kind of way I slipped and asked Miss Flagg something about a name or something. I think that's when she kind of figured out what was what. So we did the program. It was a nice program. People from everywhere came. My only fear was I don't speak in front of a lot of people. I got a big mouth. And I know Miss Flagg, because Miss Flagg taught my sisters and brothers. She taught everybody in my family but me. She didn't teach me. And I knew when I had to call these people's names, I had to call their name just right. I had to use all correct words, stop when supposed to stop. And I had did that with the liniment, I believe, front and backwards, all kind of ways, so I couldn't forget. But I bragged on myself because that day I turned it out for Miss Flagg. I was proud of myself. I don't do stuff like that, but she was happy, the time was happy, and she always supported the library, anything that she thought we needed. We got to be in there with a potluck. A lot of senior citizens would come and bring their own food. We would eat. We had a fashion show that she started at the library with senior citizens and a lot of the young people. We just had a wonderful time at the library with Miss Flagg.
Sure did.
Not a dull moment. I said, Miss Flagg, I need so-and-so. Okay, Patricia, you got it. You go get it. I'm like, Miss Flagg, I don't want to get it. I want you to go get it. No, you go get it. But it was real nice. I enjoyed it.
And the dedication came up because I told us in the beginning, the mayor of the town, whose last name was Holt, I spelled it Holt. Mr. Holt was the mayor at that time. And several people here in Edwards had already nominated people. I know Miss Narissa was nominated, and Mr. Herman McCurtis was nominated, and I can't name them all, but in order for something to be named for you, it had to be something that you had done in that community.
All right, Miss Flagg, is there any notable person in Edwards that you would like to talk about? Maybe any notable heroes that lived in Edwards once? Or extraordinary people?
Sugar Man came up in the days when we had sharecroppers. Sugar Man came up as a sharecropper. He didn't have an education. He could not read and write, but he could remember almost everything. And he was He could swim. He was compared to a giant man. He was very muscular. He would wrestle with a bull. And once before I get into telling tales about him, he could swim. He would get in a river and swim across no matter how rough the current was. He was compared to a giant, if I would compare anybody. He was a giant of a man. He would swim in the river no matter how rough the current was. He would catch snakes, a rattlesnake. He knew where to catch a rattlesnake. He knew exactly what muscle in the snake to catch, so that the snake wouldn't bite him. He knew about animals. If an alligator crawled out of the river under your house, Sugar Man would go under the house and get that alligator or whatever. He wasn't afraid of anybody or anything.
Wow.
He was really a hero. And what else was Sugar Man do? He sharpened his own tools. He even made tools. I have a knife in this room right here. I have a knife in there that he made.
Wow.
And if you would see that knife, it would look like it was manufactured. And
And you kept it a long time, right?
Salter, could you go look right there by the heater? There's a knife under there. Sugar Man made that knife, and it looked like it was manufactured. He saw a strange animal, he would get him. And he wasn't afraid of anything and anybody. And one year when they had the cattle show here, they always had the cattle show in March. A bull with horns got out of order and was cutting up and scaring everybody to death. People running, getting in their cars because a bull had got loose, and the bull was dangerous. Sugar Man, they said, go get Sugar Man. And the Sugar Man said, where he at? He speak loose language. They said, where the bull at? And they pointed and showed them where the bull went. And the bull had been halted by some force. But Sugar Man went while the bull was in mobilization, running and carrying on, jumping up and hooping and spoiling dust. The Sugar Man went and caught the bull by the horns with 2 hands, and he wrestled the bull to the ground.
Wow.
The bull was a fighting bull, but Sugar Man went and caught that bull and brought him by the horn, and he wrestled him to the ground.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Miss Flagg, is there anything else you want to add before we end our interview today?
No, I just like for the library to, when they have the chance to buy books that tell about the life of people of color